it's funny. I haven't actually, I don't know if I've really talked about this much, but like, I think one of the other secrets is also just like, the conversation that you have with yourself is probably the most important thing you'll ever have. I had an experience where I saw the future, because I would argue another reason why we might have won is you having this projection of this thing that you were looking forward to.
Photographer of the year, let's hear it for Dan Shelley, Shellda Photos.
Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Shellda Podcast, where today I'm joined by one of the biggest legends in all of paintball, a dear friend of mine too. Archie and I have built a relationship throughout the years, but Archie Montemayor of San Antonio XFactor, former Dynasty project, like your resume is just unreal. Welcome to the show, man.
Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, before we dive into everything, as I was asking that question, firing it, have you ever taken a step back and just like been, holy shit, like I've done so much in this sport? Has that ever hit you yet?
No, I don't look at it like that,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I'm just always kind of looking forward, not back in a way. So, and even, I don't know, like I'm doing it for like the accolades. That's not really like, that's not my why. Also, so it doesn't, for me, it doesn't land like that. Like I know what I've accomplished and I'm happy about that, but like, it just doesn't, it's not something that I think about in that kind of context.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great way to do it, right? Like if you're always chasing accolades, if they don't come, you're going to start to run out reasons.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, and again, I just, that wasn't like ever my ethos in a way. So it just that's not something I really look back and think about.
Yeah, gosh, I love that. And that's kind of a precursor of some of the topics we're gonna dive into in this episode. You and I've had a lot of great conversations over the years about like manifesting, and so I'm really excited to dive into that. Before we do that, though, I've got a huge announcement, and if you haven't seen it, for everyone that's watching and tuning in, if you haven't seen it on my Instagram yet, this will come out Tuesday, so it'll be a few days ago. But I just dropped the pre-order for my latest book that's coming out on October 10th. And so pre-orders are now opened up on Kindle for it. And then on October 10th, we're going to have the hardcover that drops. And man, this book has just been, it's been a lot of hard work writing this over the past few years. And it's been a lot of soul searching of going into like my vulnerability and, looking into things that I've struggled with personally and how I overcame them. So I really hope that folks in the community really resonate with it. And if I can pull it up here really quick, just to show, like I said, we dropped the pre-order last night on Amazon and it's already firing. We're already at #1 new release in extreme sports. So like any time that we could have paintball tied to something with extreme sports is just, it's huge for us, right? It's huge for the sport. So super excited for that. Super stoked for the book. So if you have a chance, head over to Amazon.com. I'll drop a link in the description below and grab yourself a pre-order. So with that, let's jump into this. I want to start off because I've got like such a special connection with you where every time that before a tournament starts, like NXL, one of my favorite things is to bring my camera into the pits and just observe people, right? Like everyone has their own ritual and own routines they go through. And I actually want to pull up a picture I took of you a few years ago because you almost do the exact same thing before every single match. And I've always wanted to ask you about it. So this is a shot of you, Dynasty, I think 2 or 3 years ago, maybe in Chicago. But you always have headphones in and like you always put your hands around a bottle, usually, and you're just taking deep breaths. And so like, I would love to know what is going through your mind in those moments and what are you listening to too?
I mean, as far as listening, I mean, it could be a lot of different things, just kind of whatever's landing for me in the weeks up to a tournament, generally. But that one changes obviously. But as far as what I'm doing, I mean, I'm really just trying to be centered, really try to channel and really just be in a very clear headspace. No distractions, trying to really just be present. And if I have any if I have any ideas or thoughts that are maybe important to focus on in that, just depending on the flow or kind of where I'm at in that kind of moment in time. When it comes to the like preparation for a tournament, I might be having some mantras in my mind or kind of things like that. But for the most part, it's just trying to be still and try to really focus and center up. Prepare myself for what's to come, what I might see.
Hey, before we go any deeper, I just want to give a huge shout out to my show sponsors. First and foremost, everybody knows they've been with me since day one, Hormesis. If you haven't seen it yet, there's a little sneak peek that I posted a week or two back, but I've got my own exclusive Shellda Photos Hormesis headband coming out soon. So stay tuned for that. Hormesis, thank you so much for the love. And then, of course, I've got bfpgear.com. Junior and Gina Brown have been with me since day one, and holy cow, their website just has so much gear on it, from you can trade in products, brand new arrivals, and whoa, did we just see that? From another one of my sponsors, ProDNA. So the cool thing about these two sponsors is, if you're a ProDNA fan, you could head over to bfpgear.com, grab some products. And one of my favorite ones recently, you guys know if you've been following me, I've got their brand new backpack this summer, and it's been with me all over the country so far. It's been with me to my work, and it's been with me on all my days at the pool with the kids. I love the backpack so much. So head over to bfpgear.com, grab some ProDNA gear, and let's head back to the show. Has that changed over the years for you? Like, years ago when you were on XFactor the first time, were you more of like that kind of rah guy, like get fired up? And it seems like now are you more of centering?
No, I've actually done this for a long time, where I would actually prefer to just be in my own space, and just do my own personal routine. But that being said, like, I always try to make sure that I'm in unison with the team too, so like I find my moments to do that for myself, because I realize that's for me, but there's other things that are for the team, and make sure to be present for those as well, or at least try to be. But yes, this is my ritual and my own kind of pre-game, and I'm just trying to set myself up for the success I wish to have. And I know certain things that help me kind of receive those codes, the information, and do with the information what I want to.
Yeah, I feel like I see more of that nowadays. Like from a few years ago, I'm seeing more and more players start to find their own space somewhere and sit down, put headphones in, and just like have a moment for themselves. Like I know Joe Barry big with it, and some other guys as well. And it seems like that's becoming more and more common, where people are looking for that space of clarity and how to push out some of the thoughts, just so you can be so present in that moment.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're in an age of information, or access to information, and I think a lot more people are aware of the benefits of a mindfulness practice. So that's why, again, I think it's becoming more common. But I would say when I first started doing this, it wasn't very common at all. But yeah, I mean, I'm happy to see that other people see the benefit. I know I do, and it's very clear to me. So that's why it's something I practice. I've been practicing for a long time.
Yeah, I kind of had that moment. I think it was maybe a year or two ago. I did a float tank for the first time, and holy cow, just laying in water, salt water still for an hour, just seeing where your mind goes was such a wild experience. And then I did it again, and like that's where I was like, wow, I can really harness some of my thoughts and like control what's coming in and push thoughts out. And I've dealt with a lot of anxiety throughout my life, and I actually would attribute that was one of the moments where I was able to recognize, like, wow, I can actually control some of this, and control some of those thoughts and feelings. And so I have actually felt myself be more centered since that moment, because I have more clarity.
Yeah, I mean, again, you're becoming more aware of what your thoughts are, and potentially how you can use them to, your benefit or demise in a way. but
Yeah.
I think the awareness is important, and that's kind of uh, yeah. I mean, I'm very much into that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, floats are cool. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to also kind of access those states, and just really interesting diving into that.
Yeah. Well, speaking of, let's dive into that a little bit. You and I have had some conversations over the years around manifesting. And I think the first time we talked about it was right around when the Dynasty Children's book came out. I think I was picking up,
Mm.
I don't know, maybe a pair of Project Joggers or something from you, and we had a conversation about you were potentially exploring doing something with manifesting. So, talk to me about what manifestation means to you and how you use it in your practice.
Um, to me, what it mean, or the way in which I understand it is that we have an effect on our experience, and so um, if you are aware of that, then you can start to have a practice of um, calling in things that you want to call in, right? Having a material and a physical, um, tangible way of calling in things that you wish to receive, right? That maybe otherwise might not have come to be. So just a way of, I don't want to say manipulating, but like a way of interacting with our experience that can call in desired, outcomes or results. So
Yeah.
that's the way I define it. Is something that you can think about or practice calling in a way, and that can have like a material effect on what actually does come your way.
That makes a lot of sense. Is that something, like, if you think all the way back, if you can, to where when you first started to think about like
Uh-huh.
manifesting, was it something that you read that sparked that curiosity? Was it something that somebody told you and you were
Mm.
inspired from?
Well, I mean, it was um, both from reading, but also too from practice, right? Like
Oh,
actually in the field, trying it, experimenting with the idea of doing stuff like that. And from my understanding of it now, like it's absolutely positively something that you can have an effect on things. So it's not like something as clear as like I want this right now, right? Like, and then it just appears. It's not quite the way in which it works. It's quite a lot larger than that, I think. But in a way, you can call on things to happen for you. And um, in my experience, I've just seen it happen countless times. I mean, in the paintball field, I've just really called on a lot of things, and it's 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 hard to say, like, to say even like to become a master of manifestation is tricky, because like you can't, it's still like it's a very long journey in a way, and even though like I understand it well, there's I can't just have everything I want either. It
yeah.
doesn't work like that. But that being said, it's a great practice, and um, it's a good understanding to be a part of. And I think it also is a wonderful mindfulness practice as well, among many other things that are just generally good for you to practice and good for you to actualize. Um, I think for me, the biggest thing about it is to understand like how much bigger of a field like we are able to interact in. Like we think that um, our day to day and like maybe just our micro environment is like all that we have access to. But like, I think once you start understanding like manifestation or just other big mindfulness practices, you realize that your field is like almost infinitely larger than you ever thought.
Yeah.
And the more you understand it, the more you practice, you start seeing seeing how those things actually can come to be. um, and it does broaden your understanding for how, how big of a field you can interact with.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Thank you for going there, because that's something I've recently been playing with too. Is that like energy, right? Energy transformation.
Mm-hmm.
When we were, I think it was maybe NXL Tampa this year, when Joe Barrett, he and I had like an interaction, and we were just talking about it. He was like, "Yeah, I just felt this energy." And I was like, "Yeah, me too." And like, it was just this weird interaction of talking about what that feeling is like and how that transforms back and forth from people. Um, and then after the tournament, we had chatted a lot. And he was like, I think he had some huge moment in Tampa, and I don't remember exactly what it is, but he was like, I felt that, like I knew that was going to happen. Like coming into this, like I felt some type of moment was going to be so big for him. And so I think that's where a lot of misconception is with manifesting. Is a lot of people think, oh, I'm going to manifest $1 million and then it's going to show up. And it's not really how it works. You've got to obviously put a lot of energy and work into it and put a lot of preparation into it. But I think that also helps. I've always looked at it that it helps you get closer to your goals, right? Because if you're able to visualize it, and if you
Mm-hmm.
want it that bad, you're going to naturally start to do things to put you on that path towards that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the other secrets is also just, channeling the feelings is also really important. So like, not just thinking about having something happen, right? But like, try to imagine feeling like it already did happen. So like, try to embody what that feeling would be like. So try to feel that feeling as if it had already happened, right?
Yeah.
And then subconsciously you're sending that energy out to your environment. And I think that's a big secret in, you know, having these things kind of reciprocate in a way.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I think that's something I've started to practice in, and honestly, like where you and I are connected, and I don't know if you actually know this or not. My first World Cup I ever went to was 3 years ago, and it was the year. It was like a crazy year. That was the year the Dynasty book came out. That was the year my mom passed away, like literally a week before World Cup. And going into that year, I started to obviously network with some different media folks. And I forget who it was, but somebody said, "Hey, if you ever are in a line with Archie and he's running at you, sometimes he'll look at the camera and like give you a point, like give you a one, right? If you have a big moment." And I just started to like think about that moment of like, man, that would be so cool to capture it. And I started to think about, my first World Cup leading up to, like, well, what if Dynasty won? What would that be like? What would I feel like in that moment? Like, what moments would I capture? Um,
Mm-hmm.
in the whole entire year, you had some crazy iconic moments with the team, and I would purposely step in front and like make sure I'm in your line of sight just to see if you would do it, if you would run at me, and it never happened, right? Um, but then at World Cup, it finally happened. And so it was just like
Mm-hmm.
a cool moment for me where I
Right.
vividly pictured this moment so much, and then to have it culminate at the largest stage for you and for me, like this is probably one of my favorite pictures I've ever taken so far,
Right.
just because of the story
Yeah.
behind it.
Yeah. That's it's really fascinating too, because like I have a lot of stories about that World Cup in particular.
Yeah.
And and yet I can't help but hear this from you now and realize that this was another layer that I had yet to peel yet, like, because I would argue another reason why we might have won is you having this projection of this thing that you were looking forward to. And that's just another layer of the things that went into that weekend in particular. But yeah, I mean, I have it's very interesting, definitely a very interesting experience a couple months before that World Cup. And I actually gave an interview prior to the Sunday that week. And I had an experience where I saw the future. Um, it was in early October of that year, so about 6 weeks before the tournament. And I saw us winning. I just, it was as if I'd literally seen the future. I felt it. I saw it. I knew it was happening. And and then, it's interesting because once you, like when I had that experience, I saw this and really felt it and knew it to be true. But then what do you do with that kind of information, right? Like, okay, well, because if I know that, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm playing a sport. Like I could have a material effect on that. I could do something off and that wouldn't happen, right? In a way, like let's just say for in the worst case, a way I could like I could sabotage, do something intentionally to not have that happen, right? But like obviously that was a desired result, and I believed it was going to happen. I believed it had happened already, and so then I'm like, well, what do I do in the in between time from now until then when I'm just supposed to just not mess it up in a
Yeah,
way?
yeah.
And that's a better way of saying it, is like I want it to happen, and I think it already did, but what do I do now? Like, how do I not mess it up? How do I not blow it? And for me, I thought about that a lot, and I had some time to think about it plenty too. But I really just felt that I just need to be myself, and I really tried to. That was my focus, just be myself, and I already know what's coming in a way. But it's funny that you were having a separate experience with a similar outcome, and again, I would almost thank you for that, because in that moment we were, there's a lot of many people converging on this idea that happened to prevail, amongst all the other people's ideas that they wished had happened, but yeah, that weekend was very powerful, and that experience I had was one of the more unique experiences I've ever had, and definitely one I think about somewhat often.
Yeah, it's one that I do too. I think about that weekend so much, just because there were just so many moments that were culmination for me and for the team, and obviously for you personally and professionally as well for that weekend. Um, I do want to shift and look at another picture that I took, and I think this actually may have been my last picture that I took of you when you were with the team. And this is
Mm.
another one of those moments for me where when I took it, I'm like, I felt it, like, and I'll bring it up here. And I just felt the energy. And so for those that are
Yeah.
listening in and you're not actually watching on YouTube, it's a picture of Archie. Alex Fragi has his hand around Archie, and Archie has his hand on Alex's chest. And something in me in that moment, I was just like, this is it. Like, this is a culmination. Like, I don't know if Archie's coming back to Dynasty.
Mm.
And I just felt that. And then I think later on, maybe in that same day, we were all behind the Dynasty pit, or maybe the Dynasty Champs Club. And it was you, Ryan Brand, and Alex Fragi. And they both were like, Archie, what can we do to get you to come play for both of our teams? So like talk me through that picture. What did you feel in that moment? And I'll bring it back up again.
Yeah, we just lost in the semifinals to Impact, a World Cup this past year, and we were playing really good. We had a good tournament. The Impact game was a tight game. They had the edge on us, but it was close. It was a close game, and we were playing really well. They had a good strategy in that game, and it was just a tight game. They won, and it would have been. That would have been Dynasty's, if we would have made the finals. It would have been 5 years in a row World Cup, and it potentially one could have been 5 in a row, obviously, which would have been incredible. But ultimately we didn't win, and also that's okay, and at that prior to that, I mean, for the most part, I knew likely I wouldn't be playing with Dynasty anymore, just because I didn't necessarily know I was going to continue playing paintball, but two, I definitely was more aligned with being home a little more, not traveling so much. For paintball, I travel a lot, but ready to be back home more in general. And so yeah, I mean, there's definitely a good feeling in my heart that I knew there's a decent chance I wouldn't be playing with Dynasty again. And not to say that I can't say definitively if Alex knew the full weight of that or not. I mean, he was definitely aware of a potential, but yeah, that's definitely a fun photo, and I think it captures a lot because Alex and I have such a great rapport and a great friendship. And yeah, I mean, I love him so much. He's such a gem, and happy to have had a few years with him and in a more meaningful way the last several, and yeah, just really grown that friendship so much. I mean, he's definitely somebody I really really cherish in many ways. So yeah, that one, anytime I'm around Alex, it's hard to catch me not smiling. So
Yeah, same, right? He has that energy no matter what. Um,
absolutely. And yeah, we might have lost, but ultimately to me, it was such just a huge, monumental success for me playing on that team for the last several years.
yeah, thank you for explaining that. You explained it so beautifully, because I think in that moment during that loss, so many people were just like they were speechless. Like, I can't believe they did it. Like, they were supposed to win. They were supposed to be 5 in a row, and there was so
Mm.
much disbelief. And then when the huddle broke and I saw you smiling and saw Alex smiling, I'm like, oh, it's okay. Like, these guys are okay.
I mean, yeah, more than okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Way more than okay. Um, yeah, I mean, again, results are results, and that's results are cool, but like
Yeah.
there's so much more to it than that.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things I've really admired about you, and honestly, I've looked up to you in a sense, because it's something that I've thought about often, but didn't know how to really process. And then Oliver talked about it with me a lot this past year, was chapters in life.
Mm.
And I've heard that from you throughout the past few years is, at some point, for sure you want to close this chapter and you go on to a next chapter in your life. Has that always been clear for you? Because I think a lot of pro players struggle with that, is being a professional paintball player, so much of their identity, they don't know what they are
Right.
without it.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I can't say that definitively, like specifically the idea of chapters has been super clear for me. But again, like when you get started on a path like of, let's just say, mastery or pursuit,
Yeah.
it is easy for that to become your identity. Certainly, if you want to be if you want to be really good, like it has to be in a way. That's part of the barrier to entry to become a master is that level of identity. And that being said, like I don't necessarily know when I had imagined not playing anymore, but
Yeah.
over the last several years, I mean, last half a decade for sure, it's been on my mind a lot. Still enjoying it. I still enjoy being around the people, and I love I love competing, but it doesn't have that same call to me anymore. And yeah, so I wouldn't say that maybe the idea of chapters. I guess now I'm a little more aligned with that. But up until then, the pursuit was what I was about, and that was a big part of my life for sure. But yeah, I'm just looking forward to what's next too. And again, like I mean, also not to say that everybody can make their own decisions, but I just feel like there's a lot more out there, and paintball's been great to me, and I've learned so much, and I met a lot of incredible people, but there's like a lot more out there too, and that's what I'm looking forward to.
Hey, super quick, everybody. Just want to take a quick moment and say thank you so much for everyone who has shown support and subscribed to the podcast. This thing is growing like crazy. And so if you haven't yet, take a moment, hit that subscribe button. It means a lot. All right, back to the show. Yeah. And I think over the past few years, and it could have been longer, but at least from what I've noticed, is you've had a love and passion for, getting behind the tables and doing a little bit of DJing. Obviously, there's some golf in there and traveling too. Talk to me about those 3 different, I guess we'll call them ventures. What do those things mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, for me, like if I'm talking about golf, like I think golf is just it's just a great avenue for expression. Like I think you learn a lot about somebody. That's funny. You learn a lot about yourself playing golf. You learn a lot about other people watching them play golf. Um, it's also it's really it can be an enjoyable practice. It's very hard. So like similar to paintball, there's a lot of correlations between the two,
Yeah.
how you show up, how you work, how you respond from, good bounces or bad bounces in a way. And so like for me, it's just a fun outlet. I'd really, really enjoy it. It's a creative game, and it's challenging, and I like a good challenge. That's definitely one thing I know about myself. So it's just a fun creative outlet. I definitely really enjoy it. And you're outside and the sun's on you and just a lot of great things, on the golf course for sure. With regard to, music, another, I would say, just a creative outlet and also just a way to express yourself and, enjoy time. And also, I think I think music also, there's kind of a technology behind it. And, it's just something I really, really enjoyed listening to, experiencing, and also kind of playing. In a way, it's just a super fun way to do things. And also, like, if you're around like-minded people or just good people in general that are, kind of also into it, um, the world's your oyster in a way. Like, you can really have some incredible experiences just based around music alone. What was the third one you had asked about? Golf?
Yeah, it seemed like you were traveling a lot. I think you had picked
Oh
up an
yeah,
RV
for sure.
recently.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And we're about to go on a big RV trip right now. We're going to Burning Man, so that's like a 2 week adventure. But I mean, traveling in general, like, thankfully, I mean, paintball got me started traveling really, just
Yeah.
traveling all over the world to play tournaments. And thankfully, that's not going to slow down anytime soon. I just think the more you travel, the more you understand, and also the more you just realize how, our separations really are not so much. Like, you go to halfway around the world and you realize that people are very similar. They might do things slightly different, and the way their environment may have, changed at a different rate or in a different way than, like, maybe my local town here in the States. But the people, like, people want to be loved. They want to give love. They want to enjoy themselves. And for the most part, people care. And, I think when you travel, you see that a lot, and it's easy to, I think it's a good thing to see personally. It's
Yeah.
easy to feel like people are separate from you when you're not around them, but when you're around people from all walks of life, I think you see that you see how you are, in a way connected.
Yeah, that's what I've loved too about interacting with people from just different countries is we're all the same, right? Like we all want,
Hmm.
for the most part, we all want to send love,
Yeah.
receive love, and when you have that connection with somebody, like for me, the first person that comes to mind is Patch, right? One of the Dynasty fans.
Hmm. Yeah.
He
Yeah.
travels around the
Good.
world just
Yeah. Good
for
people.
Dynasty.
Hmm.
Yeah, and he was one of the first people that I've really interacted with on a personal level from a different country, and it's like, wow, we're the same. We have the same thoughts and the same
Right.
connection, and you live a completely different life than I do in a different part of the world.
Hmm. Right.
And so it's a really fascinating moment when you finally have that interaction with somebody from a different country.
Hmm. Yeah. No. Again, I feel like it's just a good understanding to have when you meet people from other walks of life, because you
Yeah,
do realize how similar, we are as a collective.
yeah. One of the things that, as you're talking about, being the different passions that you're into, whether it's being on the course, stepping into music, traveling, I start to think a lot about when I'm at a paintball field, there's so much going on, right? And it's like you've got to really harness the moment and focus and just push everything out. And it really like brings your heart rate down in a way. And I've noticed where moments in my life outside of the paintball field that tend to be stressful for a lot of people aren't as stressful for me anymore because I'm
Mhm.
learning what I'm using on the field for that. Have you noticed that at all? Like, has paintball helped teach you things in life or that you're using in your daily practice?
Well, I mean, yeah, absolutely, but also vice versa too.
Yeah,
Like, the same, the same goes the other way around too. Like, and then that's again like that's what mindfulness practice is to be able to, regulate, or, be in awareness, and also, decide where you go from here. So,
yeah,
um, yeah, absolutely, those things kind of help each other out on both sides. So, and again, like, that's why I started these types of practices. It's just for my own benefit in a way. Like, I understood that these things could be helpful in a whole host of ways in my day-to-day life, whether that's on the
yeah,
paintball field or, in just every other situation that I find myself in. And so, I started practicing.
yeah. What advice would you give to somebody that like wants to start, whether it's learning how to meditate or stepping into that energy, like where would you tell somebody to start?
Be honest with yourself. The conversation that you have with yourself is probably the most important thing you'll ever have.
Yeah.
If you're not honest, you have no, you don't really get a good mirror to look at, and that's one of the things that I would say is the biggest hindrance for somebody like really trying to do meaningful work in their lives, is like the stories people tell themselves, right? And is it an honest one? Is it true or is it not true? And that is the first step in my opinion. So being honest with yourself.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I love that so much. Is Amanda and I talk about this a lot, my wife, and we always say it's the lies that we tell ourselves. Because it's kind of
I say the stories, but the lies. It's fair. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing, right?
Fiction or nonfiction is right.
Yeah. Man, that's incredible. What about one thing I wanted to ask you is, there's so many people when I'm in the pits, right, like taking photos, and it's really cool to watch fans that are able to come up to the pits sometimes, and just people are just in awe of some of the pros, and especially you. Like I have often heard, like, "Hey, there's Archie." Like, "Hey, there's Archie over there," and so a lot of people look up to you, both on and off the field. What advice would you give to somebody who is maybe currently a divisional player and they want to take that step to really make paintball their career, and play at the elite level that you're playing?
Well, I mean, the first step I would say is to be a student, like be an actual student. Like that's what it takes, and, a simple tip that I would argue is like, it's funny. I don't know if I've really talked about this much, but like when you're a divisional paintball player, and I mean this, like if you put your mind to work at being a better paintball player for 6 months, you should be so much better in 6 months' time. But the thing is, like, and I see this constantly, like people do not know how to practice. They don't know how to get tangibly better at things.
Yeah.
And like, if you're not getting, like, especially when you're a lower divisional player, right? Like once you're above semi-pro or pro, it takes more effort and time to like get better, right? But when you're not very good, to get to good should not take that long. It's just about studying, understanding the game, and then figuring out how to be efficient in your practice routine, whatever that is. And like, but what I see so commonly is that people will play divisional for years and years and years. And like, when you look at somebody from year to year, it's like, I'm not so sure they got any better. Right. And like, that just means that your system isn't good, and like, you should probably reevaluate that, because like, if you spend meaningful effort, meaningful thought, meaningful practice to be tangibly better at paintball, I mean this, like you would be better in a very short amount of time. It doesn't take that long to become good at paintball. It really doesn't. The technical aspect is very simple, right? And then other than that, it's just about awareness and understanding of the game. And if you actually study and actually paid attention and actually like tried to question what like the top guys are doing and like try to understand what they're doing, you would look so good in your lower divisions very fast. It would be easy at that division. It really would be. And once you get that gear going, and then it's a lot easier. Then it just keeps, because then you start understanding what's going to move the needle for you over time, and you start practicing that way, and then you just start ascending and getting really good.
Yeah, it sounds
go ahead.
It sounds like what you're saying there is kind of what you talked about for you as a person, is you've got to be honest with yourself first. And I think we see that a lot in paintball, where people want to show up every Sunday and like, if I put on, a cool mask or a jersey, like I feel good. I already feel something. But that's different from putting in a lot of hard work and putting in this energy to actually improve. And I think sometimes people cloud that with, hey, I'm out here, I feel good, I look good, I've got this one of a kind mask, and that's people don't separate that.
Right. And again, like it just depends on what your goal is. Like if you're trying to just go and have fun with your buddies on the weekends, like then likely what most people are doing is that, which is great too, But like if you're really trying to be good or like a master, it's you just gotta do things differently. And again, in my opinion, like if you're at a lower level division, like you can climb fast. There's not, because like those other guys aren't doing it, and that's the point, is if you're doing what other people aren't doing to get better, you're gonna stand out pretty quickly.
Yeah, it's gosh, this is so relevant. I was talking with my wife recently about like innovation, right? And innovation comes from failing and doing things that are not the norm, right? And so if you're showing up to a paintball field and everyone's doing the same thing, they're probably not going to grow. And so if someone's doing something different, whether it's one-on-one drills, it's something else, like that's where the innovation comes into play. And I think that's where you start to separate yourself a little bit from that.
Yeah, for sure. But it can be so simple as like, did I get better today? Right.
Yeah.
And you just have to, like, if you're honest, I mean, honest, like if most people answer that question, the answer would be no, not really.
No.
And why not? Okay, well, what was I doing today? Okay, well, I was just running breakouts with guys and, whatever, not going to be a super tangible thing. Right.
Yeah.
Okay, well, start maybe doing something different that you might be able to say at the end of the day, wow, I actually got better today. Right. And then you start trying to figure out more things that are going to move the needle like that,
Yeah.
And again, that's what you want to pursue. If you're just
Yeah.
enjoying the weekends with your boys and do that, that's freaking awesome too.
It's totally okay. There's a spot for that too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Let's shift gears off the field a little bit. I want to learn more about projects. It's the brand means so much to me. When I first saw it, it was this very exclusive, and it still is. Right? Like you guys are dropping limited release stuff, and it's such a pride for me when I'm out on the field. Like I'll save my project pants for Sunday. Like I've got a Sunday pair of project pants. I've had a lot of companies come up to me and ask me like, hey, we would love for you to rock our strap, but like I only, wear project on the field for my strap because I resonate so much with the brand and with what you're doing. So tell me about the brand of what was the vision of it, a few years ago to where you are now and where you would love to see it continue to go.
Yeah, I mean, initially it was, originally just started as having a want and a need for unique gear, essentially.
Yeah.
Probably about 10 years ago, a lot of the manufacturers just kind of everybody's wearing the same thing, in a way. And when I first started, it wasn't really like that. Like there were private label guns everywhere and all kinds of different, kind of accessories and whatnot, right? I mean, even back then you'd have accessories for every part of your gun. They had different,
drop
different things you
and
could do. Right, exactly. Just every color, every, whatever. And not to say that that's what we're after either, but maybe some middle ground in a way. So that's kind of how it started. Essentially, it's just a want for having some more unique, unique gear that you could kind of in a way stand out.
Yeah.
And that like I said, that's how it started. And then, from there we kind of realized, oh man, we got quite kind of interesting brand now. And so we started kind of broadening what we make. And it's been really fun. It's been a learning process, and it's been cool because I've just made a lot more connections in the paintball space as a result, with the manufacturers and also just with customers too.
Yeah, it's such a great name. But my real life job, I'm a project manager, right? And so like when I wear my project stuff to the office, I get a lot of people like, "Hey, what is that? Like, where'd you get that?"
That's funny. Yeah.
And so it's so cool that it's a paintball brand, but like it translates so well to like office wear.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, at least originally the name is really essentially that everything we do it's like a little project we're working on, like we're always working on it. And that's kind of how we came up with the name. Yeah.
Yeah. It's fun to see the some of the folks like in the league that are rocking the gear and it's I think you and I and Ryan have definitely grown our relationship over the past few years. It went from like, hey, do you have any pictures of this? And I was like, I didn't even know there was new stuff out there. To now it's, hey, he's wearing these pants. I need these pictures, and so it's made my job a lot easier.
Yeah. Sorry for that.
No, it's learning, right? Like we're learning
Yeah.
as we go through this, and the same thing as you
Mhm.
guys as business owners. So
Mhm.
yeah, I really appreciate the partnership. It's been so fun working with you guys so far.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Same.
Um, this is a question I like to ask a lot of top tier pros is if you were to never step foot on a paintball field ever again, what would be one of the moments that you're just so proud of?
I mean, I have a lot,
Yeah.
yeah, there's a few that come to mind. In general, that World Cup that you had put a photo up of earlier, that's probably one of the more special. Probably my favorite tournament win. Actually, maybe my second favorite one. That was really up there though, because for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
Um, one that really resonates for me is the last tournament, Dynasty won, which was in Vegas of 2024, where we
Yeah.
came from behind against the Hurricanes. It was just an interesting weekend, and also we had like a really killer, probably the hardest bracket to get to a final, ever. And then we were getting our butts kicked, and we found a way to win. It was just a really special week in general, and it was really powerful. I just thought it was one of probably my favorite paintball weekend yet.
Oh wow.
And again, it was just just for a lot of reasons, but like we had a really tough bracket in the prelims. I think we had Russians, XFactor, Diesel, and Blast Camp were our 4 games, right? But like
Yeah.
Diesel, the Russians, XFactor, all great teams.
Yeah.
And out of our bracket, us, XFactor, and the Russians all went on, and then we played them both in the elimination games. So we already played them in the prelims. We won all our games in the prelims, and then we had to beat them twice, both of them en route to the finals. So it's just like really grinder of a bracket all the way through. And then honestly, naturally you go through that setup to get to the finals, and we're going to play the Hurricanes, and I thought it was just going to be no contest. We're going to beat their ass, and then they kind of punched us up pretty badly early, and we stood in there. We took the licks. We definitely believed we could win. And one of my favorite things about that weekend is watching. There's a in the pits video of our match, and literally it's like in the pits, in between the points, so you could see what we're talking about, how we're doing it.
Yeah.
And one of the things I'm most proud about is like I just legit honestly thought we were going to win the whole time, even though we were down and it did not look good. But I was just like, it's happening. And it did. It was a really powerful moment, and definitely one of my favorite. I think it's my favorite tournament win. I know it's funny to not say a World Cup win, but like I just feel like the circumstances and the way it played out, and yeah, it was a really powerful weekend.
I mean, that just goes to show the importance of a journey, right? Like if it was easy,
Yeah,
you probably it wouldn't be on your radar.
right.
Like
It
just
wouldn't be on my radar at all. Exactly right. But then one of the other things that I think about, like because the question was like, what would I be proud of? Is essentially right.
yeah, like looking back,
Yeah.
what's something that you'd be proud of?
Yeah, I think the other thing is that I gained the respect of my peers. Like I believe that I'm very well respected in our industry. On the field, off the field. And to be respected doesn't necessarily mean that everybody likes me. But
Yeah.
I'm fairly certain everybody respects me, and I think that's something I would say I look back at that and I say, yeah, that is something I'm proud of.
Wow. So just to go a little deeper on that, up until that moment, did you feel like you didn't have the respect of a lot of people?
Oh, no, no, no. I feel like I've been respected for a long
Okay.
time.
I was
I'm
to say,
just
wait a
saying.
minute here.
No, no, no. I was more separate in another thing that I am proud to say what I
I
believe
see.
about my time in paintball in a way.
Yeah, I see. That makes
No,
sense.
but I think I've been respected for a long time at this point. But that is
That's
something
where I was
like
going
I
to
don't
challenge
take
you on.
for
I was
I
like,
don't
hold on
take.
a second here,
Yeah,
Archie.
no, 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 no. I don't take that for granted. Is essentially what I'm saying. Is I know that takes a lot of time and effort, and even then sometimes it's not guaranteed either. But yeah, just that is something that I do cherish, is that I do feel well respected in my community.
Yeah, for sure. And you can see it, right? Like I think you command that very well from people.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, yeah. Mm.
Yeah. A similar question, 20, 30 years from now, let's say if you have finally, the mask is on the wall collecting dust, um, what's what's something that you want people to like when your name pops up to the next generation of people and you're like Archie videos come up online or on YouTube, what do you want them to remember you as and remember like your legacy as?
Mm. What do I want them to remember me as? I mean, I would just say that I was a creative. I played the game in a unique way, and and my way. You know,
Yeah.
in a way. Yeah, I would say that. I would say that I was. Yeah, I don't. I mean, again, honestly, like I don't. This isn't something I think about much, to be honest. So it's
Yeah,
just funny,
sure.
but yeah, I would say that those things are important to me. I play the game the way I like to play it,
Yeah.
and definitely in a unique way. And I think that's what makes paintball fun.
Yeah, that's a beautiful answer. And one of the things I grew up, I haven't been a fan much of it in the past probably 15 or 20 years, but when I was a kid, I was a huge NASCAR fan. And my dad and I
Mm,
were just gigantic Dale Earnhardt fans. And he was always known for like he could just see the air. People would say it's like he could see the draft and see a lot of movement. And I've
mm,
often felt that with you, where like when I'm watching some of your moves and some of the space that you play in, I'm like, man, you just see the field so differently from a lot of other people.
mm.
I've just always enjoyed watching you, like because I've felt that from just you see like you see the energy a little differently from everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair to say. I just think I have like a broadened, awareness or a little more context for things on the paintball field than most people, and
Yeah,
that's all through effort and practice. But that's definitely how I would describe like how I play paintball. Is I'm just looking at more than what most people are looking at, and I think I play that way because of that. In
yeah,
a lot of ways, and don't get me wrong, dude, paintball still find me. Uh, like that's and also like the competition's so fierce. Like it's
yeah,
really really great competition. Um, and even and also even other layers of it, like field layouts now are designed. I mean, this is I've said this before, and I'll say it many times more, but like the field layouts are really designed to negate skill these days. Like Jason, the 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 league wants every game to be close.
yeah,
They don't want one team or two teams or three teams beating everybody up every game. Like they want the games to be close. And so one of the things you can do to do that is make the fields a little more random and a little less skill involved to get to good spots and shoot people out easily. And unfortunately for like a guy like me, I feel like these fields take away a lot of skill I have, and it's funny,
totally.
but at the same time, it's the same field for everybody. So you got to find ways to create a separation.
Yeah,
Um, so that's it's everybody's problem.
yeah, and I think that's where your level of mastery comes in. Is you're if everyone's playing on the same field, if you can find those little pieces that separate you from everybody else, that's
Hmm.
where separates the
Absolutely.
greats
Right.
from the good
Yeah,
ones.
totally. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Awesome. Man, Archie, this has been such a good episode so far. I appreciate you opening up and just being vulnerable about your journey and manifesting. I
Hmm.
think a lot of people are going to resonate with this because I just hear it so often of players who they say, I want to be better and I want to work harder, but I just think sometimes they're missing some of the first things on how to do that. And I think looking internal is so important for people to like have that conversation with themselves to realize what they really want. Um,
Yeah. I mean, and a lot of it is more than just paintball. Like, and
yeah,
that's what's kind of interesting, and everybody's like kind of path is their own path and whatnot. But like for me, you know, yeah, a lot of the kind of like mindfulness work isn't not solely paintball related. Like stoicism is a great practice and can lend itself well to being in the paintball space. Or
yeah,
philosophy is very similar. Same. There's very applicable things you can take from either of those practices and gain some valuable perspective that can lead to tangible, better outcomes for you on the paintball field, but some people think it's just about shooting your gun as much as you possibly can. And at least for me personally, like it's about a lot more than that.
Yeah, because I feel like you're probably at the point in your career where you're shooting your gun way less and spending more time up here, probably.
Right. Well, I mean, but honestly, that's kind of how my career's been for a long time.
Yeah.
Like there's been moments in my career where I was playing a lot of tournaments a year, so I was playing all the time.
Yeah.
At some points I was playing almost 20 tournaments a year. Wow. Which when you think about with practices, then it's basically it's almost every weekend. And so sure, but like the mental aspect, the mental like fortitude and understanding to me has always been like way more important than just shooting the gun, or doing drills. Way more important for me, and I think but that being said, also like if I was going to be, let's just say, also being honest with myself, like if I wasn't an adequate gunfighter, then I would work on that specifically for that reason, right? But thankfully the gunfighting aspect, I kind of figured it out somewhat quickly, and I've always been able to lean on that in a pretty meaningful way. And so then knowing that is stayed pretty constant and sharp, then working on some of the other things that are a little less tangible and a little more nuanced to kind of broaden my repertoire.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. Like I think someone's going to listen to this episode and it's going to be a shift for them of like, wow, like I need to do some work here to see internally how I can grow. And so I think whether it's you or me, one of us will get probably some DMs from folks saying how this episode's really helped them grow on the field and off the field.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, that's another, just on that tangent or on that point is just, passing on what you've learned. Like that's really important, and I always try my best if people want to, want to learn, like I love to share, and I think some of the people that I've learned from have been so gracious with their sharing as well. And that's a beautiful part of it,
Yeah, I mean that's the most important thing I think in life is it's the stories that we share with people. And if you become really good at something, whether you're a master at your craft, the next part of that to become a full master, from what I've learned, is to give back and like give back to the next wave of people that want to join that.
Yeah, this is reminding me of a conversation I had a few years ago. And I'm not going to get anybody in trouble. I won't name any names, but
okay.
a friend of mine, we were playing tournaments, 10-man tournaments with Infamous back then. And we were winning all the tournaments in 10-man, and XFactor was also having a really good season as well. And I remember thinking, well, at that time, like we just had a really great year. And at the end of the season, we were kind of chatting away. And a friend of mine who was a part of this, he said something like, "Man, dude," he's like, "we're helping these guys get better." And immediately it's just like it couldn't have been like more like a bell just strung in my body. I'm like, dude, that's the point. Like what good is it if like XFactor just wins every tournament because nobody gets better? Like that's useless, honestly. And also that's not a challenge for us to get even better. Like the whole point is for us to be good and share, and other people get good. And that gives us a catalyst and a reason to get even better. Like that's all the reasons, but the person that said that to me did not see it that way.
I'm sure
I couldn't feel more strongly about my sentiment when I heard that, and it's just an interesting perspective. But yeah, passing on is very important. That's how, as a collective, we, everyone gets better, and if everybody gets better, that's another opportunity for you to raise yourself. So, something like that is it's super important, and it's not about just me having everything, It's not about that at all.
I mean, that's where you start to take away a very self-centered person to, hey, there's a bigger thing at here than just me, right? There's a lot of more people and things that I can impact.
For sure. And not to say like, that my friend's not self-centered, you know, it's
Yeah.
just, but maybe didn't understand what, you know, how there's a little bit bigger of a picture than that, you know?
Yeah. It's the power of a moment right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'll just never forget that little, you know, story time in a way.
Yeah. Gosh, what a great moment. Yeah, speaking of moments and tying things in, I've always ended my shows with having my guests ask a question for next week's guest without knowing who's going to be on, and so it's been just a beautiful way to like connect people. Of, oh, I didn't know that person would ask that, or like maybe they never had a chance to talk to that person, right?
Mm.
Um, and
What
so
was the question that was asked? Have you asked me the question already or
I have
no?
not. I have not. So this is the
Okay.
only this is the only part of the, so for everybody, I usually will send my guests some questions that we're going to navigate through to like kind of drive the conversation so they know what they're getting into. But the only question that the guests usually don't know is this last question, and I
Mm.
purposely keep it out. But this question is from Tom Cole. Last week I had Tom on recently, and
Nice.
yeah,
I love Tom.
yeah, obviously he's very busy with ESPN, and I think he's flying across the country or across the world for a tournament today. And matter of fact, but his question for you, without knowing you were going to be on, is what's the favorite format that you've ever played and why?
Mm. Okay. You know, for me personally, I would go with the 7-man format. I just think it's a nice balance of um and enough people on the field where a lot of things can happen. It's you know, it's not too big like 10 man, and 10 man's a lot of fun and I like it. But there is like in a way a little bit too many guys. You know,
Yeah,
7-man I felt like was perfect because you could lose 2 or 3 guys off the break and you could still find a way to maneuver a 4-on-7 back, you know. Um, and I just thought in general with the breakouts and stuff, there's just a lot more variables. You can take some risks with you know, 1 or 2 guys or, you know, whatever. I just thought the game was more complex than it is now, which lends itself to a lot more variables and a lot more creativity. You know, I would argue the game really lacks creativity right now.
yeah,
Um, and for me, like that's why loved the game to start, and definitely a reason why I'm just not as interested in it in its current
sure.
iteration. You know, so that one I would definitely say 7-man.
That
Yeah,
could be
but I mean, even the early days of X Ball were great, but it's just still like, you know, the early days of X Ball were a lot different than the format we play nowadays. You know,
yeah,
so there's a lot of reasons why I unfortunately feel like we're past our prime with the way we play the game, the format of the game in a way. But also at the same time, like, you know, they're also trying to find new ways to try to get outside, you know, people involved. And you know, by all means, like that's that's probably a hard thing to do. So I
yeah.
can respect the effort that goes into making these changes.
Yeah, I mean that's where innovation comes in, right? Is like trying different styles and different formats to see what sticks, what plays, and also what's going to
Mhm.
help bring more eyeballs onto the sport.
Yeah, for sure.
I have a follow up to how you answered that. Is it seems like we're going less and less and less, right? We're going from 10 to 7 to 5 to now 3. Do you think we're going in the wrong direction? Should we try to push back for a 7-man?
I think it depends on what you're trying to accomplish. You know, like maybe the 3-man is easier to watch or better to
Yeah,
watch, but maybe it's not as fun to play. You
yeah,
know, and again, these are hypothetical questions, right? Like I can just
yeah,
tell
yeah,
you my perspective on it is that is too um I don't want to say dumbed down, but like it's too simple of a game for me to really be interested in, you know, in
yeah,
a way. So like again, if you have people watching it, but like people don't enjoy it as much playing it because it's so simple, I don't know. But maybe people will like that it's more simple, you know. I'm just for me personally, like that doesn't I don't get the um it doesn't fill me with joy the same way a more complex game or version of the game it does, you know.
yeah.
So that's my personal opinion, but depending on there's more people that like it that way or less, then you know. And again, it just depends on the desired result and how it's received. So I can just give my perspective. I can't say what's right. I can just say
Sure.
my perspective, my opinion. I like the game more complex. Some people might not.
Yeah. It seems like you're more of the chess style and how you can kind of be creative and moving your pieces around. It seems like that's how your brain
Right.
works a little bit.
That's kind of how I prefer it. I just like the more variables. I think it's more. I think it's more interesting game. But
Yeah.
some people might not prefer it that way.
Yeah. I love it. Well, Archie, the pressure is off now. You get to ask a question to next week's guests, and it can be anything. Like I've had people have asked questions all over the place, paintball related, deep, really deep personal questions, and off the
Cool.
wall random questions
I
too.
got
So however you want to take it.
yeah. I got a good one. Or at least what I think is a good one is what are your challenges right now?
Do you want to leave that
And
open ended, or do you want to go personal on the
that
field?
that's no. I mean that's for them, right? I mean,
Wherever they take it.
I just always think it's a really insightful question, and it can be a good segue into some good conversation.
Yeah. Such a good question. And that's a great question to actually ask on dinner too, or like if you're with a coffee
Right.
with a friend.
I mean, if you are friends with somebody and ask them that, it's pretty pointed, and you can likely end up somewhere in a pretty meaningful conversation.
Yeah. It can be a beautiful, vulnerable conversation for sure.
Hmm.
So awesome. Well, Archie, thank you so much for doing this. Before we sign off, are there any shout outs or anything to anybody you want to give?
Yes, I mean, I would just thank my sponsors. Alex Martinez, number one, obviously. XFactor Paintball Park, JT, Planet Eclipse, Project, Astra. Trying to think. I mean, I'm sure I'm missing some, but
Yeah.
those are definitely the big ones for sure. But yeah, thanks, and then thanks to anybody that's also supporting here. This thing wouldn't happen without some support, so appreciate those guys for doing that as well.
Yeah, it's just the power of a community, right? Like we're all trying to do the
Mhm.
same thing to grow this beautiful community forward and to bring it to better places. So thank you for doing your part with that, with all of the projects that you're in and projects. It definitely is cool to see where you're going with helping to grow the sport even further.
Thank you.
So
Yeah, and
yeah,
yeah, thanks again, Tim. Thanks for having me on.
for for sure. And so for everyone else tuning in, thanks for all the support. Head over to Amazon. Make sure you grab a pre-order of the new book, and I'll catch you on the next week's episode of the Shellda Podcast. See ya.